Over the last 10 years, I've built a £25 million portfolio, and in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how you can go from zero to £1 million in 10 years and how you can become a millionaire through it. So before I break down the multiple ways that property actually makes money, let's look at what it takes to buy it in the first place. And in this example, I want to give you a £130,000 property. Why 130k? Because that is the average purchase price of a buy-to-let investment in my areas. And we typically target the highest growth areas in the UK right now. So when you buy buy-to-let property, you're going to put down a 25% deposit. Now, if you live in Kent or London, you might actually struggle with this because you need rental coverage, which is when the annual rent covers the cost of the mortgage on an annual basis. But in general, in a good buy-to-let investment area, you're going to put in 25% as a deposit. So 25% of the 130,000 is £32,500. Unfortunately, you're then going to have some other costs on this. So next is stamp duty. We can thank Labour supporters are going to hate me for saying this, but we can thank the Labour government for this and the changes that come in. Stamp duty on a £130,000 property is going to be £6,500. Then you're going to have some additional fees on there. Now, in general, I'm going to make this some simple numbers. So we're going to go the refurbishment at £10,000. So we're now at a roughly £40,000, but we'll carry on going. And then you'll have some solicitor fees, mortgage broker fees, and some purchasing fees on there. So we're just going to say purchase costs or purchase fees. And we're going to round that up, just for the sake of this example, to £6,000. And then when you add all of that together, you've got the 32,500, then a 10, 42,500, 48,500, 49, and 55,000. So we're adding all of that together. We are coming up to 55,000. Now that 55,000 is the number that I want you focusing on right now. So for the sake of this, we're going to clean up the board and go to the next set of numbers. So to remind you, we've purchased it at 130k and the total cash that we've invested into this is 55,000. Now we want to look at the ways that property actually makes money. And the number one way, which I'll go through third, will genuinely surprise you. So when we go through this, the first easy one is rent, okay? So let's say we're going to rent this out at £700 per month. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to times that by 12, which is equal to £8,400. Now, the thing is, what a lot of people do is they go, great, we're making X amount of yield, which is the 8,400 divided by the 130,000. And that gives you your yield. But I'm not even going to go through that because that's like a basic level. It doesn't really give you the accurate return. It's more of if you're comparing like for like. And what that means is if I owned a property for 130,000 in cash, or I had 130,000 in the bank, they should be a like-for-like measurement. So yield would become the same as interest rate. But of course, in property, we are leveraging. We're using other people's money. We're using mortgages. And remember, on buy-to-lets, 75% of the risk is taken by the bank, not you. All right, so we've got 8,400. That is not your profit. We're going to have some costs to come off of that. And this is not particularly nice. I'm going to shorthand this for you. Costs, give or take, are equal to 75%. So we're going to take off 75% of that number, which if I do my maths correctly is £4,200, £6,300. So we're going to take off £6,300, which is 75% of the 8,400, which is equal to £2,100. Now you might be going, hey, that's still a couple of grand a year. Let's face it, it's not amazing, is it? So the first number, and I'm going to break down where these come from in a second, the first number we want is our ROCE. Write that down. ROCE is return on capital employed. So it's a return on the capital that we've actually invested. And the way we're going to work that out is by taking this 2,100 number. So let's rub this off quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide this 2,100 by the total cash invested, which is 55,000. So we're going to clean this up a little bit and come back to the board. We've got that 2,100. And now just to clarify exactly exactly what we're saying here. That is our net annual rental income. So you're getting around £168 a month, give or take. It's not particularly exciting, but this is the first metric that we're looking at. And just be shocked, you don't make money from rent roll. That's not how we become millionaires in property. It's certainly not how I built a £25 million portfolio. So we're going to divide that by the 55,000, which as a decimal place will come out as 0.038, which that equates to 3.8%. So we are getting a 3.8% annual return on our money. That is stage one. So you might go, well, at that rate, I might as well just keep money in the bank. Well, maybe, but here's where the next step kicks in. The next step is capital growth. You might hear this as capital appreciation. We've been measuring the land values since the Doomsday Book in 1066, where you could buy the entirety of the land for around £72,000. And that was last registered, or first registered, in the Doomsday Book. Now, inflation seems to have had a go at that over the years. Now, the average property price in the UK is around £285,000. But why is this important? Well, we have something called capital growth. There's two reasons that capital growth occurs. Number one is supply versus demand. And number two is inflation. And by the way, inflation is horrible, right? Not in property, which we'll get to in a moment. So let's start with supply and demand. Most people, when they think of supply and demand, is they focus on the demand side of things. How many people are looking to buy property this year versus last year? And by the way, a lot more than is getting actually facilitated. Just so you know, give or take, at the time of filming this, there is around a 1.5 million unit housing shortage. I'm going to say that again. A 1.5 million unit housing shortage. There are 1.5 million people looking for a property to either rent or purchase in the UK that doesn't exist. Think about how insane that is. So the thing is, do we have a demand problem? Absolutely. But the true housing crisis isn't really about the demand, which it kind of is. It's about the supply. It's the fact that we cannot physically build enough. We haven't built enough properties to keep up with demand for well over a decade. And then you've got these governments coming out, and I don't know if they're fucking idiots or just absolutely delusional or just selling a pipe dream. Yeah, we're going to build loads more. Just carry on building, builders. And it's like, yeah, the thing is, it's not really that possible. Here's a fun thing for you. We're quite a decent sized landmass in the UK, but legally we're only allowed to build on about 6% of it, and we actually only build just over on 3% of the land. The reason for that is whilst we can build on the other 3%, you have to think logistically, water lines, electrics, gas, everything where the grid needs to be is bloody expensive. And so it's not actually a viable reality. So we have a massive supply shortage in the UK and, of course, unfathomable demand. On top of that, we look at immigration. And this isn't a video about immigration being good or bad. There's pros and cons, of course. But I think we can all agree when there's mass immigration, we don't want people coming over to our country and going, oh, sleep on the street, right? We obviously want to keep people safe. And so, where are those roofs coming from? Well, initially hotels, and then of course houses, and then prices go up. When there's more than one person looking to buy the one thing available, pricing, bidding wars start. Next is inflation. Now, what is inflation? Inflation is the deterioration of the value of your money. Put simply, a pound today is not the same as a pound in a year. And people go, well, a pound's a pound, right? Well, yes, it is. But what can you buy today with a pound versus what you can buy in a year? If you were a millionaire 50 years ago, you'd have a west wing in your house, a east wing, you'd have servants, you'd have all of the whole shebang that comes with it. Now, if you're a millionaire, congratulations, you own a house in the south. You know, it's that sort of level. And there's two extremes there, but being a millionaire means something very different. And in 50 years, it will mean even less. So inflation is your purchasing power going down. Now, how does it play into property? Well, the reason it works out is, what is inflation on? What has the cost of X gone up? Well, let's think about three major things. Costs of bricks, on average, have gone up 60% over the last 6 years alone. Wood, gone up over 42% just through COVID alone. And of course, the cost of labour has gone up. Well, the cost of labour, the cost of bricks, and the cost of wood, you've just built a fucking house. Okay, so if the cost of building those things have gone up, therefore the developer needs to sell it for what? More in order to make their profit margin. And there's two outcomes there. Either we as a collective today can afford those increased prices, or they can't. And what do developers then do? Just land bank. They'll just keep the land, which does what? Which reduces the supply, which does what? Increases the price. You see the collateral that we go through. So, what are the numbers? Long-term average capital growth is 7.9% per annum. But let's use a conservative number here. Let's say we're growing at 5%. Now, here's the game. Does it happen every single year? I can hear you already. You're going to write in the comments, Jamie, that's delusional. What about the last 10 years? Yes, the last 10 years has done the same fucking thing, by the way. Now, does it happen every 10 years? No. Property price doubling? No, of course not. They go up, they go down, but in general, you will not find a 10-year period ever where property prices have gone down. So we're going to say an average. Yes, there's some areas that won't do this. They'll do better, they'll do worse. Yes, there'll be some years that it goes down, but in general, 5% is a decent measure. But 5% of what? 5% not of the cash you put in, but the purchase price of the property. So if on average it goes up, we're doing that 5% of the 130k, which is not a trick question. How much is it? 6,500. So if we're doing that 6,500 and we're looking at 6,500, now we divide that by the total cash we put in, which is 55,000. So as a calculation, that's going to come up to 0.118 on a decimal place, which is 11.8%. Now here's where the game connects, and this is something that I call combined returns. Combined returns is not a real thing, by the way. It's actually called the internal rate of return, which is very complex, but we're just going to call it combined returns to keep this incredibly simple for you. So in combined returns, in my merit is going the ROCE plus the capital growth on the property, which year on year brings us to 15.6%. 15.6% ROI, return on investment. So every single year, this boring, vanilla, buy-to-let property is getting me a 15.6% return, which in itself is phenomenal. But I hear you. The moaners on here, the people that have invested for a while, you've not taken account of inflation, and you've certainly not taken account of the interest on the mortgage. Yes, but we actually have. Because one thing I haven't factored in on these numbers is rental increases, which it increases on average in the UK between 3 and 8% on an annual basis. That more than covers the increase on the debt that you're going to take in through mortgages. So let's just cancel both out just to keep it really simple. Remember, the net cash that we're getting is after paying those things, which I've just realized I didn't go through what they are, so you can write these down. Mortgage cost is number one. Management cost, i.e. the letting agency managing the property. Maintenance cost. Maintenance cost is any works that need doing, little bits of works when a tenant lives there. Insurance costs, which is the basic insurances you need when you own a property. And finally, voids, V-O-I-D-S. Voids are when a property is empty. Those are the 5 major running costs that you want to write down. There you go, a little Easter egg for you there. So when we've got this, the final one, the big one, how does it really make money? It's actually not the rent that comes in. It's, in a way, not even capital growth. You're about to make a brand new best friend. And that best friend is inflation. So here's the real thing that people don't understand. Inflation is your friend when you have debt. when you have leverage. Now, if you want an entire video breaking down in a geeky level the positive impact of inflation, put inflation in the comments and we'll see that as a signal that you want us to create more videos like that for you. But for now, think about it this way. If inflation is demolishing, destroying the purchasing power of money in your bank, which it is, what's it doing to the debt that you've got on your portfolio? It's demolishing the value. Think about it. Why is it a government wants inflation at play? Well, one of the biggest reasons is that they hold trillions. We're at about 3 trillion in debt in the UK. Inflation would be a really nice thing to have right now, wouldn't it? To demolish the purchasing power of that 3 million. Meaning that in 10 years, it's still 3 trillion, but it's just not that big of a deal for a country compared to 10 years ago. And so what happens is as capital growth happens and goes forward, and I'll just give you a very rough example, let's say in 7 years, making this up, that property is now worth 200,000. Well, here's what we then do. We're then going to refinance. We're going to get a new mortgage on the property. The new mortgage is going to be 150,000, which is 75%. Remember, the mortgage is going to take 75% of the risk, and we can release that. But if you remember up here, we only put in 75% of the 130k, which is 97,500. And so what we do here is that 150k pays off the 97,500, and you've now got 52,500 in your bank. You might go, yeah, but now we need to pay for the increased debt. Remember, the rents have also gone up. We've now got 52,500 in our bank, tax-free, because it's not profit. Think like Elon Musk here buying Twitter. It's not profit, it's tax-free. And what can you do? You can reinvest it again. Let me give you the outcome. If you can find solid properties at a 7% yield and an average of 5% capital growth, this will blow your mind. Over a 10-year period, you can 3x your investment. And so a £100,000 investment in property today, if you do it in the right way, will get you to 300,000 net worth within a 10-year period. Now, that is not get rich quick, it's get rich for sure. The challenge is, how do you find those opportunities? And you're either one of those people, you're going, this sounds amazing, I need help finding it, which we will create future videos. But if you really want to do this and you're going, I've already got the money, I'm ready to invest, this sounds amazing, I want to be a part of it, but maybe you don't have the knowledge, the time, the inclination, maybe you can't afford to take the risk. What I want you to do is put portfolio in the comments right now. That's portfolio in the comments. And what you can do is you can actually book in a free one-to-one with me or the team. We'll do a strategy session with you. And if you need our support doing it, we will help build your portfolio for you. We already know the best areas. We already have the best power teams. We've facilitated over 1,000 of these properties with the #1 client of my company being me. It's successfully helped me build a £25 million portfolio. We can rinse, copy and paste that system just for you. So if that's something you're interested in, put portfolio. Otherwise, make sure to hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll show you in future videos how do we find these opportunities.